me go back across to Kiran. Kiran, what is it that you're going to be watching out for from here on? As Shailesh was pointing out, most people don't expect any significant shifts as far as economic policy are concerned. The macro environment is getting to be a little more challenging now, especially with crude prices at $80, inflation starting to pick up, etc. From an economic perspective now, Kiran, what will be the triggers that you would watch out for? You've got big ticket items which are politically controversial. You've got the Air India disinvestment, which is coming towards its possible closure. We don't know if it will or it won't. What will be the next big triggers that you would watch out for?
Well, I don't think we have so much time to look at big ticket items to come into play, but I think just delivering on some of the ongoing reforms that we are really addressing is going to be important. I mean, I think GST has begun to basically start leveling out, so I think that should be good for the economy. I think definitely this disinvestment is a very important low-hanging fruit for the government to focus on. And I think, we have to also look at some of the other factors. I think we must focus on exports, and considering the fact that the rupee is now beginning to depreciate, actually could augur well for exports. So I think exports is something I would like to, focus on and see if we can, improve the export performance of our country. So I wouldn't expect any big ticket items to be rolled out in the next 1 year. It doesn't make sense for the government to do that. I think it just needs to focus on making sure that its existing reforms are actually leveraged in a better way. That's it. And, as far as Karnataka is concerned, I think we have to wait and see what happens over the next few days. But whatever shape and form the coalition takes, I think we should really make sure that we focus on improving our urban infrastructure, because that's where 60 to 70% of our GDP in Karnataka is, provided from. Yeah. So I think that's what I would like to see in terms of the new government.
Shailesh, what could be the determining factors now that could decide the future course of the crucial states that go to vote? You've got Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, the Congress feeling confident about their chances in both those, but they were feeling confident about their chances in Karnataka as well. And of course, for the big one, 2019, what do you foresee as being the determining factors?
One critical point to mention. One state election does not determine national elections. I think that point has been mentioned in the past. I think the most critical factor to keep an eye on going forward is inflation and where inflation heads. You alluded to crude prices increasing. There's two very sensitive factors affecting India today. First is crude. The second is U.S. Federal Reserve interest rate policy. In the past, the Modi government removed the oil subsidy around 2015. They turned it into what they call a carbon tax. Now with prices elevating again, the question is, will they reintroduce the subsidy to make sure the pass-through effects on inflation do not hit the Indian consumer? Or will they keep the subsidy, or will they bring back will they let the pass-through effect go through? Now the challenge is, if you bring back the subsidy, you're going to worsen the current account deficit. Yeah. Eventually, you'll depreciate the rupee and have inflation, but there's a laggard effect at least. If you don't do that, then you will have a very real effect on inflation, and that could be a huge spoiler for Rajasthan and MP. Barring crude or barring Federal Reserve policy, I think the other sensitivity here is we know that the situation in Rajasthan is not as favorable for the BJP, whereas MP is. So if you take the collective outcome of these elections, now I did say that one election doesn't determine 2019. If you take the collective outcome of how did it in Karnataka, let's say Rajasthan is a loss, let's say they hold on to MP, this is still a very favorable situation for the party. Now, earlier you were asking what is the trend here, and I think a lot of the conversation is around Congress and JD have 116 seats. They can form a government. But we should think about it the other way, which is look how many seats Congress lost. Look how many seats BJP picked up. This is a consistent trend that's been taking place in every state election we've seen. Gujarat was the only election that came down to the wire. Fine Congress, the one big win they've had so far is Punjab. That's about it. So you've seen systematic loss after loss. And the commonality here is, Rahul Gandhi. He's not capable of delivering wins for the party. And I think that has to be a bigger takeaway that hasn't been discussed here. If you head into 2019 with the same structures in place, no change in posture, then that's a problem for the party.
Okay, let me get Mohammed to respond to that. You're down now to Punjab and Puducherry. You're probably on your way to lose the one big state that you were left with, and there is a crisis of leadership despite the fact that the Congress party was trying to project a resurgent Congress post-Gujarat, but that doesn't seem to be playing out.
Well, I think it's very myopic to suggest that Rahulji's leadership is in question. The very fact that somebody was saying that somebody used the word right now, what was that word? They said that this is a party struggling for relevance. Well, the BJP's leadership doesn't seem to think so. Rahulji issues a tweet of 140 characters and 4 cabinet ministers come down to try and convince the public not to take it seriously. He gave an answer, off-the-cuff answer to a question in Karnataka about prime ministerial ambitions, and the prime minister was so petrified the very next day he addressed the subject at length in his rally. They take Rahulji seriously because he has brought himself to that position. They cannot ignore him.
Okay, maybe
now,
the BJP takes him seriously, but what about voters, Mohammed? Why is it that state after state we're not being seen the Congress deliver on the goods?
Okay. Okay. So again, if voter turnout or voter preference is the metric, then by that measure itself, 38% of the people of Karnataka voted for Rahulji.
What other metric is there in politics?
So if you... No, so I'm using the same metric. So I'm using the same metric and I'm saying even if you use that metric, Rahulji is more popular than Mr. Modi. In fact, he is significantly more popular than Mr. Modi was in 2014 now. But I understand your question, not to be bogged down in semantics. I understand. Look, we need to keep moving forward. We need to assess our strengths, build on our strengths, eliminate our weaknesses. Of course, what I'm saying is true. It's a truism. But the Congress has, even today, right, like you said, Shireen, they learned from you when you were talking to the BJP spokesperson. This is a much more aggressive Congress. We will keep taking these guys head on.
Mohammed, you know, let me ask you a straightforward question. A man that you worked very closely, Jairam Ramesh, said it is absolutely imperative that the Congress stitch together alliances ahead of the 2019 election if it wants to continue to be relevant. Now it boils down to that. Whether or not it made sense for you to go with the JDS as a pre-poll alliance in Karnataka, as was being pointed out a short while ago by Alok, or not is a separate question. But your own party believes that to stay relevant, you will need to stitch together alliances ahead of 2019.
Well, that's a good point, and that has been endorsed by Rahulji as well. Going back to the same answer he gave with regard to the prime ministerial ambitions question, he said it depends. It depends on alliances. One of the conditions he put forth, aside from the fact that if we win, was it depends on alliances. We look to our allies with a lot of respect. We treat them as equals, as we did in UP, as we do elsewhere. And ultimately, we try and emerge as consensus builders. Rahulji brought together people in Gujarat. Rahulji brought people together here. He, in fact, gave complete autonomy. And this is a criticism you would level at us a year back, that you would say that Rahulji interferes too much in ticket selection. No, this time he gave complete autonomy to the local leadership, and they drove the campaign.
In a different world. I mean, like, I don't know which world is they're living in.
Well, sir, as much as you would like us to be down and out, we will not be down and out. As long as there is,
the BJP party president is speaking. Let me very quickly get wrap-up comments now from each of our guests. And Altaf, I'll start by asking you, you know, the possibility of taking this matter to court if the governor's decision doesn't go your way.
It depends upon the BJP with the matter taking to court, and the governor has the discretion to take the decision. Now the Congress and GDS have set a.
But are you really, as Yogendra was pointing out, and I'm not trying to preempt what the governor may or may not do, but the narrative coming in is that it's unlikely that the governor will rule in your favor.
Definitely,
so
because actually, you know, the law of the land, law of the land, which permits gives the powers to the governor to welcome the alliance, and the largest party, the alliance party, which Congress and JDS has submitted to the governor, where the majority of 160 we have. BJP is very well, they're masters in marketing and their product as 104, and they are claiming for the single largest party. now the alliance JDS and Congress is a party which has been is going to be from the government very soon.
Okay, that's your hope and that is your belief. Gentlemen, we will have to end the conversation here. BJP Party President Amit Shah speaking, and soon after that, Prime Minister Modi will speak. Yeah. Prime Minister Modi will speak. Alok, I'll give you the final say on what you believe is the biggest takeaway from the Karnataka verdict.
I think the biggest takeaway is that there is no one big takeaway. I think what we have seen is that Karnataka votes as 5 or 6 different regions, and no 2 regions seem to have voted alike. In Bangalore, it seems to have been status quo. Old Mysore, somewhat status quo. BJP has turned the tables in coastal Karnataka. Congress has swept Hyderabad, Karnataka. It's a very complex narrative, and I think the biggest takeaway is we shouldn't go by these linear examples that, you know, either the Modi's effort helped, or it was polarization, or it was actually a vote against Siddharamaiah. These are all nice narratives to believe, but I think we should be careful of, you know, taking one explain-all kind of situation.
Absolutely, we need to read between the lines and look at the nuances as well. Alok, Mohammed, Altaf, Yatish and Shailesh, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Thanks very much for your time, and I am sure that we're going to be speaking much more with you over the next few days as this story continues to play out.